I'm Nate, and I'm going to show you some of the ways you can use our newest scatter sets from our Cities collection to build some fast and fun encounters. Let's dive in and take a look. All right, for our first build, we're going to start with this 12 by 12 Mossy Cobbles terrain tray. This is a prototype, so the final art has a little more moss in there and a little more weathering, but this gives you the idea of it. And man, I love this design. Very fun to work with. So what we're going to do is we're just going to throw some terrain, a little bit of scatter right on this terrain tray to build an encounter. I do this sort of thing in my home game all the time. Throw down a couple of terrain trays and a little bit of scatter and go. And it accomplishes a couple of things. One, just gets you playing faster. Also, if you have less time for prep, you can just go quickly. Two, if you build out, the more encounters you build out, the more keeps your players on their toes. Often they know if you build out an encounter, it means there's probably going to be combat. So the more encounters you build out, then it's harder for them to metagame go, is this one's a combat one, or this one we can probably just talk it through, whatnot. Also, sometimes you just get you get thrown for a loop, right? You have a random encounter, or the players go somewhere you weren't expecting, or the situation's changed from when you were prepping, and now there's a really high possibility of combat, or maybe you just want to sort of give the possibility for combat. So maybe you just want to build something quick. So we're going to take this 12 by 12 Mossy Cobbles, and we're going to take the Fountain Square dressing pack and start populating it up. So we're going to start with the fountain, right? We're going to pop it right in the middle, and boom, instantly we already have Fountain Square here. And we could, you can pop off all these are pull accessories, so you could pop off all of the bits, but I'm going to leave it all in and try and make it feel like we're in a bigger city. Like if you want it to be a smaller village, maybe you pop up the small guys and just use the griffin and not the orb or something, or strip everything off and make it look a little more austere. But we want it to feel big and grand, so let's go for the mood of a big city. And then we're going to take, there's a bunch of fruit stalls and the like, right? So we're going to take these stalls that are in that pack. We're just going to kind of scatter them around. And boom, we got a couple of zones. We could put some merchants. We're trying to make make it feel like a little town square. So I'm going to take the water barrels, put those around, put this one by the fountain. We're going to take the crates and barrels. Let's put a couple over here. Boom. And over here, it's slide between these guys to control. Something like that. And what do we have last? We have a little water bucket. So we'll pop that down. So now we've populated a scene. It's starting to feel like it is a market square, a little bazaar. If we wanted to add a little more colors, because we're trying to make it feel like a city here, so let's add a little more. So let's get the Smuggler's Wagon pack. This is a really fun pack, right? Because the wagon is a wonderful trope, right? You can do the broken down wagon in the middle of the trail, or the overturned wagon, or if you've done a ransacked village, you kind of flip it on its side. You can use the horses just as horses, or the driver can sit in anywhere as a fun lookout, whatnot. So I love this wagon. Sort of anywhere you put it is fun. Plenty of room for a couple of minis in there too, so the players can enjoy a ride around in the wagon. So we'll throw that in there, and then it comes with a little bit of scatter. So let's fill this thing up. Make it look like it's hauling a bunch of goods. Boom. Boom. And then we have a couple of leftover pieces from that, so we can use that. Let's build this out a little bigger and sort of bulk out these stands. Perfect. So now we have like a little scene. So let's say the players they've been hired by the local merchants guild. They think there's a spy in their ranks. They want the players to kind of interrogate or lightly question 3 suspicious merchants who are all at the market square. So we're going to use some miniatures. We're going to take our townsfolk miniatures pack and our non-human townsfolk miniatures pack and just populate this up a little bit, right? So we'll pop in a few folks to be the merchants. Right, pop those around. Well, maybe we can make this one as like two merchants there. Make it. It's always fun as the DM to do the 2 voices at once. Always get a little adventure. And then we'll take a couple of other folks from this pack, and we'll kind of pepper some people around. We want to try and make it feel like a bustling square, right? So boom, pop some NPCs around. You see, maybe they're shoppers. Maybe one of them's secretly working for the merchant. Maybe there's someone who works for the Thieves Guild. Who knows, right? Now we have a whole bunch of NPCs kind of peppered around here. And now we've set a scene. And what's fun, because you don't necessarily know what's going to happen, you now have it prepped for combat. So like if the players, now they can come in, maybe they want to go, there's 3 different merchants they need to talk to, so they could split up. They could go one at a time. Maybe someone's going to talk to the person running driving the wagon. Maybe they want to keep an eye on the NPCs around here, the rest of the people around town, see if any of them are trouble. And sure enough, we could, if you wanted to, one of them or 2 of them could be working for the corrupt merchant. So maybe the gnome is the merchant spy, and then you have like the Tabaxi and the Dragonborn are working for the gnome or something. So if the questioning goes awry, or the players mess up, or they threaten something, she'll give the signal to them, and then a combat can break out. And now we have a fun, easy combat encounter. We've got the fountain, could be difficult terrain in the water there. There's a lot of movement blocking. People could jump up on top of the crates, and maybe we could say the merchant will kind of make a break for it, jump on, shove this guy off, and try and like drive off with the cart, and a high-speed chase could ensue or something. But once again, we've kind of set a little sandbox to have a narrative, and no matter where it goes, we'll kind of set the stage for the players, with plenty of things for them to interact with, and plenty of narrative hooks, plenty of material for you to improv with, plenty of stuff to work with, and see where the story goes. All right, let's look at a second idea of how we can build an encounter with just a little bit of scanner. All right, for our second build here, we've taken the new pond terrain tray with water texture overlay, and I just did a quick little build out using prototypes from our banks. So these are prototypes of both the pond terrain tray and the banks. That's why the banks, the edges are not 100% flush yet. Our factory finish ones will be flush. These are handmade prototypes. But I was just trying to create a little bit of a water feature here. Kind of use it as setting a stage for it. We can give it identity. So if we were using the pack from before, the fountain square, this would be a nice place to put like a fountain for a city park, right? We take a bunch of the dressing from that previous pack and kind of do something similar out here. But what we want to do is, let's go further outside of town. Let's go make a little druid grove just outside of town. So I'm going to take the Trees and Flowers pack, which has these great little pole accessory fruit trees, as well as some pole accessory flowers. We're going to pop these around. Boom. That we're going to use the pole accessory holes in the banks to pop in trees, pop in flower. We've got one more tree, boom. And then we've got one more flower, something like this. So we can make like a nice little grove for, let's put a druid out here that players need to talk to. And again, this could be, maybe it's a social encounter, maybe it's a combat encounter. By building it out quickly, it kind of leaves it a little more open-ended. Maybe we want to make it a little more lush, right? This maybe still doesn't feel quite special enough, right? Because we just have a few trees and flowers. So I'm going to grab the Planters and Shrubs pack, and from that we're going to take let's take the 2 planters. We'll put those up at the entrance to the grove, something like that. So nothing like a bunch of beautiful cultivated flowers to say, hey, welcome to a druid grove here. Then we'll take let's take these shrubs. We've got there flowering shrubberies. And so what I'm doing is, not only are we giving it a look, but we're also kind of constraining movement if this becomes a combat thing. So I'm going to put little rose bushes back here to sort of block off these trees. And then maybe we'll do the same thing. Let's see. Make a little space over there. Boom. We'll do the same thing. So now we've kind of constrained it out. So what we could do is, so let's say the story is a local druid that watches over the village has sort of gone missing or hasn't showed up or whatever. And she's known for, she has a pet blink dog, and the villagers are concerned or something. So the players go out, they give her sort of location in the grove, they go out to find her, and she's here, but she's in some sort of weird stupor, maybe, and her blink dog is sort of growling menacingly. It's this big feral looking blink dog. This was from our Caverns Deep line. This is just a mini from our townsfolk line. And so now it could be a thing where the players can use some animal handling or speak with animals, or otherwise you're trying to gain the trust of the blink dog, kind of figure out what's wrong with the druid. She's been ensorcelled. Maybe it's a naiad, or maybe it's some sort of fey magic, right? She was communing with a fey magic. And then we can trigger something. You could have a combat. So maybe we have a bunch of our lizard folk from our lizard folk set pop out. We have this nice water feature to use. So what we can do is pop a few lizards out here. So now we've used our scatter to create, like, if the players are inside here, we are giving them some cover. If assuming these lizards all have ranged attacks, right? They're slings or spears or whatever. We've given the players some cover, as well as sort of constrain both of their movement, right? You don't want to run through the thorn bush. That's going to probably hurt you. It's probably a bunch of movement to go through or jump over the hydrangea. You can't go through the tree. So we've constrained their movement, kind of trapped them in here, and or give them a defensive place where they can kind of bottleneck. They could fight the lizards there. So we've made a pretty dynamic combat encounter very quickly with by having some exposed terrain tray here with some water features to deal with, and then all of these plants constraining movement, providing cover. You could have, because it's a druid grove, maybe these are some magical plants, so there can be some interesting properties. Like if you get too close to some of the flowers or something, they could have magical properties as well to make them as sort of hazards or not. Or if you didn't have the combat, it could just be a role play encounter, unless they anger the blink dog. But you're setting the stage, right? You're creating this beautiful, lush grove. You're kind of setting the scene, painting it in the player's mind, quantifying everything very easily. Plus, it's just fun to build a pretty little druid grove. All right, and now let's look at one more idea of how you could build a quick encounter with some scatter. All right, for our third build here, we're taking the Mossy Cobbles 12x12 terrain tray prototype, and we're putting some more of the prototype grass banks on it to kind of just carve out a little open area. The idea is this would be in a park or something. This would be a distant part of the park where there's a path leading to like a little area. And we could take the fountain from Fountain Square again. Just be a perfect place to put a fountain. I mean, honestly, once you make a little zone, anything you put there gets interesting. We could take the trees from the previous encounter, the flowers and trees pack, and do a little thing like this. Make a little grove if we wanted, right? Same kind of idea. But in this case, let's just do something slightly different. So let's grab the old well. So we got a little texture patch of water. Start with first. And we can drop the old well down now. So we have this, well, it could be kind of a remote part of the park or a disused part of the park or something, kind of like less traveled area. So we're dropping the well there. We don't have, this is a prototype. We're just finishing up the sculpts. Michelle just finished this is the master of the top of the well roof. Toby's got to do the bottom of it, and we have to cast it and paint it, but it's going to look something like that. So it's going to sit at a little angle on it like that. It'll look something like this, but it's not even ready yet. That's how fresh these pieces are. So we're going to use it for this walkthrough. We're going to do it without the roof because it doesn't exist yet. So we're taking the old well. Oh, don't forget the little bucket. Okay. Makes it real. Boom. And let's give it a little bit of context. So we're going to use maybe we haven't used the signpost pack yet. So I'm going to take, it's got 6 of these little plinths and the gargoyle pole accessory bits here. So we're going to take these and kind of put them flanking the entrance here. Do that, or we could put them up. Maybe we'll put them up here. Well, they're more in the scene if we put them down here. Let's put those guys down here. That makes it feel kind of like an old, right? There's this old guardians that's been here for a while. I like flanking anything with the statues. Makes it look kind of neat. Little entry area here. And then we'll take the signposts. We don't have the decals ready for these yet. This has some decals, so we could put a little pertinent sign there, a little information sign or whatever. Pop that up. And then I'm going to take it's got 3 more signs and 3 more plinths. We're going to not use the signs. We don't need 1,000 signs for this, but we'll take the plinths and use them as like little benches around the well here. So that's like become like little sitting areas, right? So now this Feels like we got a little, feels very park-like, right? Because we have these specifically sculpted pieces of stone for the park. And then maybe we want to make it, let's amp up the greenery a little bit. So we're going to grab the planters and shrubs pack, and we're going to pop those around. So let's start with a blossoming planter, up, buff, giving some splashes of color. And then let's pop this one behind this, make that a little scenic, and a little bench stone. Pop these guys over here, something like that. And this guy over there. Cool. All right, now we feel like we're in a park. We have a scene. So let's say the story is the players are searching for the Thieves Guild, or they were following someone from the Thieves Guild, and they were kind of led this way, or they got a tip off that they go look by the old well. The Thieves Guild, so there, or something like that. So I'll put the halfling from our non-human townsfolk pack there. So that could be the scene, right? They come on in through the path, and boom, sort of empty little remote part of the park, and there's just a halfling there. She's sitting working on poetry or something, right? Just sitting quietly alone in the park. But of course, she is a Thieves Guild operative, and she's the lookout. So it could be a social encounter that then turns to combat or the like. And if we look carefully, so inside this the well here, Michelle sculpted little jutting out rocks that make handholds so they can be way to climb down. So sure enough, the entrance to the Thieves Guild, if you climb down into the well, there's a little secret door 15 feet down that leads into the Thieves Guild. So if the players aren't careful, or the halfling tips off or sets a signal or whatever, it can quickly become a combat encounter. So we could have some NPCs hiding in the bushes, which also maybe then could have been discovered along the way, right? A little perception check or something, or someone could come climbing up out of the thing. So now we could have a fun combat encounter. And by popping these pieces of scatter around, we now have some spots that are breaking line of sight, breaking movement. Maybe you get advantage if you're up. You get some height advantage if you're standing on the bench or something. So we have a few reasons to be running around and interacting with the space by just popping a few pieces of terrain around like that. And of course, it doesn't have to go to combat. You can play it by ear, but you've set the stage, and now the players have an idea of what it looks like, the entrance to the Thieves Guild, if they ever come back here, or you want to reference it in the past. But it didn't take very many pieces of scatter to create a immediate scene, tell a story. You could build this out in 3 minutes on your table if you needed to quickly run something like this. So hopefully, this has given you an idea of some of the ways you can build an encounter using just scatter. For more city building ideas, take a look at our cities playlist linked in the description below. And for even more info, hop into our Discord, where we have an amazing community who would love to talk terrain with you. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, throw in a comment, and think about subscribing, because it really does help us a lot. Thank you so much for watching. We really do appreciate it. And now, it's back to the anvil.